vision, we can work towards a common goal. We can develop a strategy and a solution. And that's what Nehemiah did. He developed a strategy. He developed a proposed solution to rebuild the ancient city. And when all the people got together and worked together towards that common goal, they was able to achieve that they thought was unachievable. And so today I come to say we can achieve that we believe might be unachievable. But as we look around us today, let's be conscious of the narrative. Amen? Because without question, we all are sick and tired of the sense of lawlessness that's taking place in our city and in our community. No, I mean, for me, it's heartbreaking because our seniors don't even feel comfortable sitting on their porches talking with their neighbors across the fence. People don't want to go downtown Oakland or come to Oakland because they're afraid that their cars are going to be broken into. I mean, people sleep at night always concerned if there's going to be a home invasion. And that's the narrative those are some realities that we're dealing with. And some say, well, what is the solution? I mean, we have heard some from the extremists say, oh, shoot anyone that steals. And everybody get armed. And some are saying get tough on crime. But we have to be conscious of those kind of narratives because something has to be done. And that's why we're here today to come up with some workable solutions and strategies and also see what is currently in place and what needs to be built upon. But at the same time, we have to be careful. The last time we had the whole tough on crime mindset, it had a devastating impact on communities of color. More of our black and brown men were incarcerated. And that was in the 90s, and then 30 years later, we come back and apologize, for the misstep of being tough on crime. So today, what we want to look at is some sensible solutions. How can we change the climate and the culture of this city? Because it's totally unacceptable as it is now, but let's look for some workable solutions. And so again, like Nehemiah, the people had a mind to work. And if you're here today with a mind to work, I truly believe we can have a tremendous impact on the city of Oakland. I want to say again to you, welcome today to this forum. God bless you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sonia, and I'm here to read the purpose of why we're gathering together and the credential of the Faith in Action East Bay. We gather as a community to express our concerns and hopes for the future of public safety in Oakland, to learn from elected and appointed officials, and to move in action. Our credential: Faith in Action East Bay, also known as FIAEB, reflects our growth into building power together with community leaders from across Alameda and Contra Costa counties. We are a multi-faith, multiracial network made up of more than 23 congregations that include over 25,000 families. Faith in Action East Bay leaders organize around the issues that impact our communities, including access to affordable housing, excellent public schools, ending mass incarceration, civic engagement, and just immigration policies to create family reunification. Faith in Action East Bay is a member of the PICO California and Faith in Action National Network. Thank you and welcome.
Greetings. Hi, my name is Bridget. I'm a member here at Mount Zion. And as I was sitting here, it's a trip how the traumatizing crime has become so normal, which has tripped me out. And as I'm sitting here, I'm realizing how important it is for us to be here today. I want to start off by saying thank you to Faith in Action and our social justice ministry for bringing this to us, bringing this to our community. The other day, I was at the gym, and it was probably about 7:30 in the morning. And I am on the treadmill, and the windows are big, so you can see everything going on outside. And There's an ATM, a Bank of America ATM right outside. There's this elderly woman who was getting cash from the ATM machine. And I'm sure she's probably thinking, it's safe. It's early in the morning, you know. She's walking back across the street to her car. As she's walking to her car, she's being preyed on by two people, a man and a woman in a mask. And they were in full garb, everything. They proceed to, and it was so eerie, because I'm like, is this really happening? They begin to sneak behind her car and try to snatch her purse, snatch her out. The woman just started like almost losing her mind, and she drives off. We're all beating on the window in the gym. It was the craziest experience to watch this early in the morning. It's like, this is what our city has come to? What's going on? You know, I was traumatized. I'm leaving the gym, walking to my car, afraid. I have never been afraid walking to my car, leaving the gym. That was crazy. Another experience I had, again, I was coming in from working out, and before I got in the shower, I said there was something that came on TV and I wanted to watch it. Just as I was sitting down on my couch, a bullet flies over my head in my house. You know, why is a bullet coming in my home? I thought my neighborhood was safe. I'm glad we're here together, because something has to be done. And as Pastor Wallace was saying, we don't want what happened 30 years ago to happen to our men again. So I know we have to come together and be extremely wise about what we decide to do or explain to our city council person what we want done in our communities. I wrote, while I was sitting here, Chris asked me, why is public safety important to me? So I wrote this down so I didn't forget it. I said, public safety is of utmost importance to me because it signifies a shared responsibility to lead, address challenges, and safeguard our community in recent times. This responsibility seems to have been overlooked in Oakland. When we prioritize public safety, we create an environment where individuals can live without constant apprehension. This enables us to work collaboratively, tackle problems, and protect the vulnerable, including our seniors, women, and children, even our men. It's a call to action, a reminder that we must ensure a safer and more secure Oakland, where everyone has the opportunity to live and thrive. Thank you.
I just want to briefly acknowledge, amen, first of all, thank all of you for coming. I want to acknowledge some of our faith leaders, our clergy, our pastors who have taken time out today to be here, because public safety to them is real and very important. So they came to be a part of this dialogue, this discussion, and also to be a part of our solution. But we do realize, and I think as pastors we have had this discussion, something has to be done. There has to be consequences for actions without question. How do we arrive to those conclusions and to those solutions is what we want to do today. But I am so grateful to have the Reverend Dr. Willie Estes, all the way from San Francisco, California. Amen. He is also the Vice President at Large of our St. John District Association. We have Reverend Tim Amy right here, amen, and he's going to be sharing later today some concerns. He's right in the heart of our community. We have Minister Tugwell here from Mount Zion, our associate minister. And we also have Minister Willie Lang up top. He's bringing us the media ministry. I want to also say that we are live streaming for those who want to share with your family and friends who cannot attend. your community members and neighbors, because I think it's important that everyone at least hear the context and be able to share with us today. And they can go to Mount Zion Oakland, Mount Zion Oakland, both on Facebook and on YouTube, and they can join us today. Thank you so much.
So thank you all. Okay, I remember earlier I told you all that you will have this opportunity to share with people close to you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give a few instructions, and then we will jump right into it. So this time right now, we are going to do a think, pair, share. So all of you have name tags that have numbers on them. What we'll do is we will find somebody who has the same number as you that you did not come with, and you are going to get into partners. So I'll go ahead and give you 30 seconds to do that now. Find a space that's kind of in your own space. You'll be talking to each other, so make sure that you can hear without being too close to another paired partner. So find someone with your same number on the name tag that you did not come with. And make sure y'all spread out a little bit. Give yourself some space. Yes. You can sit anywhere within the sanctuary. Make sure you spread out. Give yourself some space so you can have an adequate conversation. Huh? Y'all too close. All right, everybody partner up. If you don't have a partner, raise your hand. If you don't have a partner, raise your hand. Find somebody who also has their hand raised and partner up. Two people per group, please. He doesn't have a partner right there. Boom. So he needs a partner. All right. We're going to go in twos. Find some space in the sanctuary. You can sit anywhere. Yeah, you might want to spread out a little bit so you're not super close. Y'all can sit anywhere. Yep. Sister Yarborough. Oh. Everybody have a partner? Groups of two. Oh, right here. Here we go. Raise your hand for me. Right here in the orange. He needs a partner right here in the front. Perfect. It's okay. If you need to make a trio, feel free to do so. But if we can, I would like for everybody to be in partners, just for time purposes. Well, Brother Glenn needs somebody. Brother Glenn. Yep. Well, y'all can make a trio. That's fine. Okay. So I hope you all have had the opportunity. I got it. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do in this, in our partnerships, we're going to do a reflection time, right? And we'll share it in partners. This reflection sheet is called Truth, Hope, Change, Curiosity, and Celebration, right? So we call it THC3. So for our first segment of it, we'll take 4 minutes. Each partner will take 2 minutes, and you'll just share your truth. Willie, can you put this on the screen? So your truth. You'll talk about what's currently happening in your community, either personally or socially. You'll use real life examples or happenings, and what's burning for you about this, right? What surprises you about it, or what is challenging to you about it, right? So you're gonna take 2 minutes and just speak your truth. The other partner, you're just being an active listener. You're not commenting, it's not a dialogue, it's just a monologue. For 2 minutes, a person will share, person A will share their truth. Whoever's birthday is earlier in the year. That's how we'll choose who goes first, okay? So whoever's birthday is earlier in the year will go first. You'll take 2 minutes and you'll just share your truth about what is happening in your community, socially, personally, what's surprising you about this, right? And what is challenging you about this, all right? So we'll take 2 minutes. I'll give you 30 seconds to figure out whose birthday is first, and then I'll start the 2-minute timer for us to go ahead and share out, okay? You can give it to him. No, yeah, just give it one per partnership. We're gonna come around with the handout too, just so you can see it. I think that'll help. Okay, our 2 minutes is starting now. So you going first, Brother Danny? Good morning. How you doing? Good. Got about 30 more seconds, person A. Okay, go ahead and switch partners. I'm sure y'all probably already have, but go ahead and switch partners. Take 2 minutes and talk about your truth. Everyone has the sheet. Got about 30 more seconds. Okay, thank you all so much for sharing your truth. Um, this is what I like to do with the kids. I'll go waterfall, they go shh. So that's how we'll know it's time to come back to center, okay? So Now we're moving on to our second portion, which is our hope, right? And we'll do the same format. Each person will take 2 minutes to kind of talk about what's your hope for the community, right? What would you like to see happening? What would you like our society to look like? What are our ideas, our hopes for public safety within our community? And then we'll do the same thing where we take 2 minutes. This time the opposite person goes first. We'll take 2 minutes to just kind of talk about what your hope is for the community and for our society, and then we'll move on down, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and start the time now.
Everyone got one of these? Tager, put one of these up here. 'Cause I know you're getting yours on.
Go ahead and switch partners. Talking about your hope. I know y'all probably switched already, just keep talking. Waterfall. Ooh, I just love it every time. Okay, perfect. Thank y'all so much. All right, now we're moving into our change portion, right? What steps can we take to make the shifts needed to realize the hope that we identified above, right? So what change needs to happen to go from our truth to our hope, and how we can make those changes happen within our communities. I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all 2 minutes again. Y'all know the drill. You can switch people who start first. Try to do the 2 minutes of just listening, but if it turns into a dialogue, that's also okay. All right, start the time now. What changes need to happen? That we have more people coming. About 45 more seconds until we switch.
All right, we just want to take 2 more minutes. If one person spent 2 minutes, you want to switch to the other one and do your other 2 minutes.
Oh, Chris has it. That gentleman back there needs one. Okay, there's a lot of like three. He could go with them. They all just got here.
Okay. You guys are in there?
Chris has them.
Why don't you join these two brothers right here? Chris, go up in here with that group. There are three of us. We'll bring the second to do it.
All right, y'all. Waterfall. Perfect. Just real quick, just checking in. How's this feeling for y'all? You can do thumbs up, in the middle, down. How's it feeling? Okay, good. And so now we're going to move into our curiosity. So what deeper questions or inquiries are coming up for you? What's something that you need more time to think about to make long-term shifts, or something that you just may need more information about before you move forward, right? So what are some things that are coming up for you, some questions that you have maybe of yourself, of the community, of our public officials, right? But just questions that you have around public safety. I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. We'll do 2 minutes each, and we'll start now. All right, go ahead and switch partners. Okay, waterfall. Thank you. And now we're going to move into our last section of this reflection, which is super important, right? Because a lot of times we get into spaces where we can only kind of see the negative and we only kind of feel the negative and it starts to feel overwhelming, right? So we're going to move into our celebration, right? So what are some positive things that you've seen or positive changes that have happened in your community or in our society that give you hope that these things can actually change and we can have a better living environment for everyone, right? So what are some celebrations? Go ahead and take 2 minutes and then we'll switch. All right, go ahead and switch. Another 2 minutes. All right, people, go ahead and wrap up your last thought. Okay, so as we come back to center, I know I didn't even do my waterfall. Sorry, Brother Danny. I would like to, at this time, give groups an opportunity if you feel compelled. We'll take about 2 volunteers from each section. But if there's something that you heard or something that you felt that really stuck out to you, if you want to go ahead and share with the larger group, well, like I said, we'll just take 2 volunteers per section. But just to share what you may have heard in your conversation or something that came up for you. And then after we do this share out, we will take a small stretch break before we get into our panel, okay? So the first section is truth. So does anybody want to share just maybe a truth that they have or something that they heard, something that came up? If you want to stand up, sorry, just so they can hear you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Does anyone else have a truth that they want to share? Yes, sir.
I've lived in this neighborhood for about 11 years now. I do a lot of volunteer cleaning, and when the homeless encampments invaded our area, you know, it's like whack-a-mole. They go and clean up a homeless encampment, and then they pop up on the next block. Where's that from? When is our public officials going to address the fact that when they're offered housing, regardless if it's a mini shed, a hotel room, and they refuse, and then they pop up and just create another toxic waste hazard? When are they going to start doing something to stop this? Are they going to arrest them? And why is the burden of a lot of this stuff being put on us? I go out there and I clean up these homeless encampments after they leave. I find needles, human waste. Every single thing you could possibly imagine from every single venue is out on the streets. And I have suggested they put gigantic dumpsters out, because the illegal street dumping that's happened around Ramondi Field and that whole warehousing area since I've lived here, put out dumpsters. They don't do anything in this neighborhood to take care of it. And and then also we were talking about the police force. They have been told during COVID, don't do anything. Let them do whatever they want. Well, if I park my car wrong, I'm getting a ticket. If that camper's out on the street that's got toxic sewage and all that around there, they're just going to leave them alone. So it's just really, really frustrating and upsetting. They just cleaned out the Wood Street encampment, and the one main hoarder over there just moved out onto the street, and he's created a half a block full of trash now. When is enough is enough? And like I said, the burden of all of these issues have been put on the people who are paying taxes, who live here. We should have peaceable enjoyment of our parks, our streets, our sidewalks. You know, like I said, when I moved here 12 years ago, it wasn't that bad of a problem. A lot of the homeless people were under the radar. Then it just exploded into just toxic waste dumps of trash. We're breathing, all these RVs that are catching on fire are not from cooking dinner, it's from cooking meth. And where do those toxic fumes go? All the trash that burns, we're breathing all of those particles in. And they stay on our streets and they keep blowing around and around and around.
Thank you for that as well. I just want to take a moment to really appreciate everybody for being open, right, and for being willing to share their experiences right now. Definitely appreciate that. If there are two people who maybe want to share a hope that they heard that was really inspiring, or that they have a hope for our community.
You know, a lot of times we have a lot of concerns, a lot of issues, a lot of complaints. But we as a people need to step forward too. And I think if we sit in our community, once upon a time there was neighborhood watch. Maybe that needs to happen again, but this time broaden it. Make it unified like 911, that each community can have a voice. Because of fear, nobody wants to have a voice because they be seen. The news people is in your face talking about, we're not gonna show your face, but you just showed everything on my clothes. You just showed the address next to me. People don't want that because they don't want the people to come after them. But if they sat in their house, everybody got a cell phone, the government giving them out. Get on the phone, call. But we need to reach to the people doing some footwork. Pass out some pamphlets and tell them this is what you do as a procedure. If you see something in your neighborhood, tell it. Let it be told so that it can go to some people that can make something happen. Because the police can't be everywhere and solve everything. We have to do some things ourselves. And I think that's the first step. And that's old school, but it worked.
Thank you. Anyone else have a hope for the community? Yes. Oh, I'll let you share, and I'll let you share as well. Sorry.
Just to respond basically on what this brother just mentioned here. Can you hear me now? Growing up in the city of Oakland in the late 50s and early 60s, they had a curfew here. And that's part of the problem that we're having here. These people wandering the street with nowhere to go and nothing to do, and no police presence. I'm not knocking the police department because I had a brother and a brother-in-law that worked for the police department. But there's no police presence. And if there's no police presence, these crooks and all these crazy people are going to do what they're doing. My car was vandalized, my tires were stolen off of it. I called the police department. You know what they told me? Get on the computer and do a report. City of Oakland ain't paying me. County Alameda ain't paying me. State of California ain't paying me. I'm not a cop. But that's part of our problem here.
Thank you. And then we have one more hope there in the back.
I want to address everyone, first giving honors to God. My name is Daniel Crockett. I'm born and raised in this city, and my hope is in this, that the institutions that have been historically in the community and have helped the people, I'm speaking first of the church, then those social organizations such as the Masons would reinvigorate themselves and find an energy to teach the resource which they have. Our hope comes from heaven, from God. If we're looking for our elected officials or those people that are in the administrations in the city government, I'm telling you what I have received. I have a letter in my car from Kamala Harris addressing the problem of homelessness, and they're not going to do anything. They are, in whatever they're doing them, and it's not about us. We have to take the responsibility and accept the guidance that we'll receive inside our churches, inside our social organizations, and I know I'm tired, but I have the hope to have the energy to get back up and go out, not for just myself, but for the glory of God and the children that are coming. Look to the youth. We have to recapture what was lost during the influx of drugs and the propagation of unholy activities in our society.
Yeah.
It starts in the home. Teach the children well. You know, in Proverbs, what? Bring up a child the way it shall go, right? And that's our hope. You know, so if you're like me, I have great-grandchildren that I have to impart this knowledge to and give them something to stand on, a firm foundation. And all I know that really works is the love of God and the gospel. That's it. You know.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just for our last one, if anyone has a celebration, anybody has something positive that they have seen or has had a positive interaction or anything like that, if anybody wants to share a celebration. We have one more. We have one right here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tara Neff, and I'm an executive director of a new nonprofit called STEAM Against Violence. It stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, Mathematics Against Violence. I'm a UC Berkeley graduate. I'm graduating with my mathematics degree this semester. After I lost my brother to violence almost 10 years ago, and with the violence that's been rampaging in Oakland, what we do is we host free robot building workshops, free electrical engineering workshops. I offer free tutoring for youth. I do this all in my free time. Our program is super underfunded, so a lot of the times I come out my pocket. If you look over there, that's Princess. She's recording. She's my treasurer. We show up to the most recent unfortunate deaths for elderly man named David, who was taken away from us in Oakland Hills. We've showed up to support the family of Peanut, who was recently taken away from us, and other members. And we wanted to share our resources. We do free robot building workshops, and we hope to do as much as we can to get the youth that's on the streets out of the streets. Just like the youth that is out there committing crime, I myself was getting expelled from every school that I was attending. I myself was getting into fights. I myself was, I never got arrested, but you know, I was getting there, and I could have been one of these youth that's out here breaking the law. So I did want to share the celebration that there is a lot of organization and there is a lot of youth that's stepping up and that want to make a change. And Princess and I are part of an organization, and we would love to share more details and connect with the community of how we can make an impact, how we can touch our youth, how we can save those lives and transform them from a negative path and to transform their trajectory to be a scholar, to be God-fearing, to be supporting our elders and protecting our elders. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank y'all so much. I just again want to take a moment to appreciate you all. At this time, oh, just kidding.
I just want I was just saying, I want to appreciate you all here. Had the opportunity. My name is Chris Logan. I get to organize this congregation. I'm a community organizer, Faith in Action East Bay. Oh, let me use this mic there. Is this better? Okay. My name is Chris Logan. I'm a community organizer with Faith in Action East Bay. We've been in existence since 1972, and we were the founding organization that started what's called the PICO, People and Communities Organizing Network, which is not only across the nation, but also in other countries, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Africa. It's been really just beautiful to be in this space and to overhear some of the conversations that I've been hearing. You know, we have the Black people in our community represented, but I've also heard the perspective of immigrants in this room. I'm sure that we have various religious perspectives and even non-religious perspectives that are being represented in this room. And as we're talking about this, I want us to keep in mind this one question, as the gentleman in the back said earlier. What are we willing to do about this? It's one thing to come together and talk about the problems, but it's another thing to actually pull together our resources and do something meaningful to change this community. At Mount Zion, we are beginning this process of community organizing. As a matter of fact, you guys are engaging in our very first part, which is listening. So we are engaging the community because we believe that your perspective and your wisdom and your influence matters. The next step that we're going to take as a congregation is to do some research. We're actually going to take what we hear from this meeting and start doing some research, not only book research, but in engaging with political officials on, well, we heard this from our people, how can we solve this? Once we finish that research portion, we're going to move into action, which is where we take our demands to those who can make change happen, being the mayor, city council, chief, whoever it may be. And so I want you just to be thinking about that question. You have in your seats, or you are not in your seats, but we handed you this card with the survey. I encourage you to fill out that card. Right now we're collecting what we call qualitative information, and this card's going to give us just some numbers about what you guys have viewed as important. And so please make sure you fill out this card and turn it in. So you have some time. We're going to begin our panel in about 5 minutes. You can make yourselves to stretch, use the restroom. I know there's a women's restroom down this hall, and the men's restroom is downstairs. But please come back. And I also want to encourage everybody to sit in this area of the sanctuary in the first 5 rows. So transparently, this event's being both sponsored by Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church and Faith in Action East Bay. And we're going to do some grant reporting, and the pictures will look so much better if we were all together. And so again, if we can all sit into this part of the sanctuary, first 5 rows, that'd be super helpful. So you guys have about 5 minutes or so to do what you need to do, and we'll be back for our panel.
Yeah, again, bathrooms out this way, women's upstairs, men's downstairs. Take 5 minutes, take care of yourself, and we will be back.
Mr. Lane, music?
I have no idea. I haven't even seen it. Okay. to my dad.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yes, I was there, absolutely. So we thank God for you. You're doing a lot of good work, and we certainly appreciate all the things that you do in terms of helping the community. That's what we're trying to do as well. Working along with the article, after a while. Then your husband is doing a fabulous, fabulous job as well. He's doing a fabulous job. He's a good worker. I just wanted to congratulate you on that. That's a good, like I said, you got the neighborhood, good unit, man, to come out on the Saturday, yeah. What's called, they got Martin, they got something over there, something, right? Yeah, they do anti that, yes. But where you at on that? You anti? No. She got the right idea. Like everybody else. 30 years later. I want to come over and support, man. I'm going to be here for a while.
Feel free as we wait for our panelists to just kind of move around the room, introduce yourself to a few people. We are going to give them about another 3 to 4 minutes before we go ahead and get started. So feel free. And as we come back, everybody, if you could just please go ahead and sit in those first 5 rows, safely, socially distanced, but if you could go ahead and sit in those first 5 rows as we come back to center. There are tape marks on the back of the benches if you want to make sure that you are safely distanced from the person next to you. Could sit in front of one of those little green tape marks. But if we could come to the center and to the front as much as possible, that would be great. Again, there are tape marks for safe social distancing. But again, if everyone could move to the center, even off of the sides, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. We could do the first 5 to 6 rows if possible. Again, there are tape marks on there. That side is not poisonous, so anyone who wants to sit on the left side. Yep. Thank y'all all so much. Come on in. We won't bite. There is that whole other side as well. Thank y'all so much. Again, there are tape marks if you want to stay safely social distanced. There's also that side of the room, but if we could bring it on in, first 5 or 6 rows, or at least in the center, that would be great. We do understand it's still COVID. No, just like not on these sides. So yeah, this is great right here. Perfect, thank you all so much.
All right, I want to say to all of you, it's a lot of good positive energy. I was sitting there observing. I was so happy to see everyone engaging, sharing without any hesitation or any reservation. So that lets me know that we all have our hearts in the right place, that we want to do something positive and make a significant, meaningful contribution to the plight of our city in addressing public safety. We're honored today to have one of our elected officials from the California Assembly. She's here. We're going to have her just speak for a few minutes to us, and then we'll be getting ready for our next panel. We're going to ask at this time, let's put our hands together for Ms. Mia Bonta, California State Assembly.
Thank you so much, Pastor. All right, thank you. Well, I really just came to listen, to be honest with you. I've just come off of being in the State Assembly, where I get to say every single day as I walk the green carpet of the Capitol that I represent the beautiful people of Oakland, and I know that we are in a lot of pain right now. And what heals us is when we can come together in moments like this and really talk about that pain, talk about the harm that we're experiencing, and then also talk about our path forward. Every one of you has a solution that we can dig into and really understand, and I need to have my knowledge and my cup filled with your voices and your stories and the opportunities that you want to share, so that I can bring them back and shape what we're doing. Just so you know, I've been on the phone with the governor and the governor's office about what's happening in Oakland right now, and trying to make sure that the state is lending extra support, extra resources to be able to uplift our community in this moment right now. And I will be fighting for more funding, more resources to come to the city of Oakland to make sure that we don't experience a kind of feeling of not feeling safe every single day as we're trying to raise our kids, go to work, take care of our family, and be well. So this whole week for me has been about health. I've been to about 3 or 4 different conversations about how we keep ourselves healthy, and this fundamental thing of making sure that we have a sense of community safety in order to be able to make sure that we feel healthy. I want to thank the pastor for opening up Mount Zion for this conversation, because certainly the way that we feel most healthy is when we feel connected and loved by God. And we know that he's holding us even in this moment. So I want to thank you all for contributing to this conversation, for making us strong. And I just need you all to know that I will be taking every single word that I hear and looking to turn that into action that will support us moving forward. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's put our hands together again for Assemblywoman Nia Bonta. And I just want to share with you, we thank you so much for being present, and we know that you have been on the forefront of trying to address the major issues affecting our communities, and we appreciate your public service even before you went to Sacramento, and we thank you. Again, I want to say to all of you, we are grateful at this time. Are we ready for our panel? Okay. They appear to be stuck in traffic, and we're going to turn you in the hands of Christopher Logan, and he's going to improvise.
I don't have any material for jokes or anything. But I mean, I guess by way of conversation, I think what would be really helpful for all of us to hear is just some more, what are some of the solutions that you see are necessary? I know you had a chance to share within your partners, and we had a couple be able to share earlier today. But it'd be really helpful for other people in the room just to hear, what do you see are some of the gaps that we can fill in as a community? What investments can we be making into our community to make it so that we're all feel safer? So I want to open that up for the room.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm a resident, born, raised, live right across the street, West Oakland all my life. Wouldn't have it any other way, love it. But, you know, I've seen enough. Enough. I don't even know where to start. Everything that I heard earlier is applicable to what's going on right here. And what I'd like to see personally is more of this. But not just this. After we leave here, I'd like to see some type of accountability from the people who want to come out like now on a more regular basis. You're going to hear all these categories where we need help, where we could use help. A simple graft, you know, back then, or September 30th, 2023, it was like this. Then 3 months later, it was like this. And now it's like this. I think that they need to be held accountable. And yeah, come out and listen to us, hear us, but not just be hearers of the words that we express here, but help us, because we need help. And all of this, it's no good unless something is going to really come out of it. And not once a year, not election time, but there needs to be an accountability at every phase of what we talk about here.
Thank you for this opportunity. I heard this gentleman that was back here that mentioned about our young people, and we realize it has been said, charity begins at home and spread abroad. But in this day society, we don't have many young people that's attending churches. And when I was a youth back in the 60s and 70s, we had pastors that came into the school sites. And so we don't have that anymore. And I realize that there's a separation between state and the church. But when tragedies come, even the presidential house said we ought to go into prayer. Prayer was taken out of the schools in the late 60s when we used to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and then we used to pray, and then after school we had our various catechisms that we went to. That don't exist anymore. And nowadays we don't have parents in the home teaching their children. So they're just running amok. So if we can start, again, try to get them into the house. I would just like to share this with you, even on last Wednesday, my grandson turned 18 years old. And he has gone through some change, and he is a young man now. But I heard him in a conversation says, he's not a Christian. That disturbed me. I didn't address it, but what I, as a grandparent, is going to do, immediately go into prayer for him. And as Sister Jones has said, we need more meetings like this. We need to get the young people out in these type of meetings as well, so maybe they can voice their opinions. So that's, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Rose. I think we have time for just one more. Oh, we got two more. So we'll do these last two, and our panelists are on their way in.
Hi, I just wanted to say that when I was coming up and we'd be cutting school because our parents would be at work and they can't be at two places at one time, we had a thing for detention center, where the police see you cutting, they automatically pick you up, take you to this detention center where your parents have to pick you up. It have to be your parent guardian, or you wouldn't be able to leave until someone came and picked you up. Because when parents at work, they don't know what their kids are doing. And for me as a parent, and I seen that's what happened to me when my son was, got killed in 2010. I was busy trying to provide for my family while he was doing other things, so that can be something you guys can bring to the school district, try to bring that back. So that was one of my concerns, probably can help the parents knowing where their kids at when the school time.
How are you? My name is Bishop Kevin Barnes of the Abyssinian Baptist Church. And I heard a brother was talking earlier, and he was stating about watch out for each other. What did he call that in terms of neighborhood watch? And I think that we kind of lost that. And I think that there's over 400 and some churches in Oakland. And that's just Baptist. So, we got quite a few churches. So why can't we, partner with some of the churches and say, hey, listen, if you're on that block, the block where I'm at on 33rd Street, I get out and I walk and I know all of the neighbors, you know what I mean? I know all of the neighbors, and I try to talk to them and try to get them to understand that we're in this thing together. And I think that that's what it's going to take, is that I heard the sisters talk about the fact that the church, what the church is actually doing. And I think that we have to get back to the church, because every time a crisis happens, where do we go? Right back to the church. There's some people on my block. They don't come to church at all. But as soon as we had the earthquake or anything tragedy come, Pastor Warren, where it is. So what we do now is we open it up for people. You don't have to be a part of the church. You want to come and pray, come on and pray. We open up the doors for them. And I think that's what we have to get back to, that neighborhood watch. Make strong neighborhoods, because if you have a strong neighborhood, you have a strong community. You have a strong community, you have a strong country. And I think that that's how we can do it with the neighborhood watch, push that more than anything else, okay?
Hello. Hi, my name is Marilyn Reynolds, and I've been a resident of West Oakland for about 35 years. I worked for the City of Oakland Head Start program, training and teaching little ones. I became a park activist, and I got 4 parks in West Oakland renovated. Ramondi Park, Willow Park, Berthaport Park, and Defirmary. It took me 7 years, but I did it. Me and the kids going to the city council. We need to do more. Please take this back to the state. Encampments should be outlawed within 3,000 feet of parks. I went to the park Friday, Ramondi Park, which was a big donation came from Arnold Schwarzenegger, from the governor. There were donations of $5 million to renovate that one park. Baseball, football, and soccer can go on at that park simultaneously.
Thursday, soccer and football going on there simultaneously. Two sides of that park have RVs with who knows who's in them surrounding the park. And our children have to go out and play and see that blight, see that depression. It'll come to a time where they won't want to come to the park. With all that money spent, a jewel, a diamond in our community, we need to outlaw encampments near churches and near parks. And I mean it. And schools. Thank you. See, we all on the same page here. This is a pastor, Pastor Amy. His church is directly across the street from one of the biggest homeless encampments in Oakland. Graffiti covers the church. Blight, garbage, mattresses, furniture. That should not be. He shared that there was a funeral going on. A fight broke out. He flagged down a police officer. The police officer said, "What do you want me to do?" That should not be. We need to come together. Listen, we old people, we're going to get young people, we're going to march. Okay? If we got to bring back marching, if we got to bring back chanting, if we got to bring back screaming, we better do it. Because this is ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Thank you so much. Well, again, I want to thank you all for your comments, for your passion. This is your community, and we can definitely hear your passion that you love this community. You love what this community can offer to our generations, and that's really important to us. I want to invite our panelists and Pastor Wallace to come up. You can sit in these chairs just up here, and we're going to begin our panel discussion.
Let's put our hands together for our panelists who have arrived. All of these panelists here today, I consider them personal friends of mine. So if I give them a hard time, you'll understand why. But they are true, the ultimate professionals in our city that's addressing public safety. Let's take the ring out of this. They're addressing public safety across our city. They are very dedicated to their profession and to our city and to bring about positive changes. I'm just honored to have each of them here today. And so I'm going to have each one to introduce themselves, amen, and they will tell us how they serve the city of Oakland. Let's start there. We'll start on this end with this handsome gentleman here.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Omar Farmer. I'm a volunteer commissioner on the Safety and Services Oversight Commission. Outside of that arena, I'm a parent and an entrepreneur.
I'm Reverend Demita Davis Howard. I am the director of Ceasefire.
I am Kentrell Killens. I am the interim chief of the Department of Violence Prevention. Violence Prevention. And Intervention Services.
Violence Prevention and Intervention Services.
Yes.
Department of Violence Prevention and Intervention Services. Well, let's start with you.
Yes, sir.
Interim Chief Kentrell Killens. Please describe for this great congregation and audience today the work that the DVP, Department of Violence Prevention, do and how that differs from what we're accustomed to with traditional policing. Tell us more about the Department of Violence Prevention, exactly what you guys do, how you engage in the community that's different than the police department itself.
Yes. First, let me just say thank you, Pastor Wallace, for inviting us, and thank you for having this forum. It is absolutely necessary for community to continue to talk. I think that is something that has been missing from the dialogue. We let media control how we communicate based on what they put out. We talk about the media clips that we see, but that's not all that's happening within our community. We rarely see anybody celebrating the young people, the accomplishments of those individuals who have turned their lives around. We see this all the time, but it's always overshadowed by the next incident. It's always overshadowed by the next shooting. And they'll make you think that Oakland is the most dangerous place in the country. That's absolutely not true. What we're facing and what we're dealing with is similar to multiple cities across the nation. And if you look at it, it's all the underserved cities, the cities with low incomes, the city with high poverty are focused in dealing with the same level of violence, crime that we're seeing across the city of Oakland. And so it's nothing exclusive about what we're seeing, but it's absolutely something that we need to deal with as Oakland. And so what we do with the Department of Violence Prevention, we take a public health approach. We recognize that first and foremost, violence is a sickness, it's an illness, and that illness is contractable. That illness is something that we pass on through other individuals. How do we pass it on? We pass it on through community norms. Community norms say, yeah, but if me and Pastor Wallace get into an argument, the only way for us to handle this is that he either gonna have to shoot and kill me or I'm gonna have to shoot and kill him. That's the community norm for this young generation. Well, we know some of y'all grew up fighting each other. Some of y'all seen some knives pulled out, but then nobody died, right? And so what happens is that over generations, over time, we find individuals who accept different norms and bring in different modes of operation. And we are here to provide an opportunity to meet individuals right where they are. We recognize that some of our folks that we're dealing with they come from broken homes. They come from homes where one of the parents is dead or one of the parents has been in prison almost their entire life, where they have been raising themselves on the streets. Not all of our individuals are from that. I go to juvenile hall every single Saturday morning. One of the young men said today in the group, he said, well, I'm not like some of y'all, because some of y'all come from that and don't have them families, but I got both my parents. I just chose to be out here doing something. So it's not always situations where individuals are from those broken homes, but there's a culture among these young people that we don't talk through nothing. And I asked them today, I said, do y'all shoot because y'all scared to fight or y'all can't fight? And they laughed at me and thought I was funny. It's not funny to me. Because when we had disagreements growing up, we had a way of dealing with it. And I'm not promoting any form of violence, but what I'm saying is we're getting far away from how we grew up and the norms and the culture that was created around Oakland, right? And so we're letting these young people dictate, and let me be very clear. Let me be very clear in saying this. What we're seeing portrayed in the media in Oakland around the crime and violence in Oakland is absolutely not just Oakland involved in that crime and violence. You saw the news the other day that said that there was arrests in West Oakland with the Ghost Town gang members. You would assume from that news clip that Ghost Town is leading the crime and violence in the city of Oakland. That's an absolute lie. Let me tell you who else they arrested, but they don't publicize this. They arrested groups of folks from San Francisco that are now living in Oakland, and the conflicts that they had in San Francisco, they're now dealing with it on Oakland streets. We've seen an increase in shootings and homicides related to folks from San Francisco over the last 3 years. We noticed it when there was the homicide at the Juneteenth event at the Lake Merritt. But I've been paying attention for the last 5 years because I came down here and was engaging with some young men, and the entire apartment complex was outside. And I started, I love people. I introduced myself. I'm going around talking to folks. And I said, well, where y'all from? And everybody in that little cohort said they was from some neighborhood in San Francisco. I said, oh, they here. Some people saying San Francisco is coming to Oakland. No, they're here. Let me tell you who else they arrested. They just did an arrest over the last few weeks ago with multiple individuals from Hayward that are coming from Hayward to do robberies in Oakland. It is not just an Oakland problem, y'all. Oakland has become the playground for folks to come and commit crime and do violence, but it's not just our people. We got San Jose individuals. There was an increase in the arrest of folks from San Jose, increase of arrest of folks from Richmond. We got everybody and their mama coming down here, making it look like it's all just Oakland. It's not just Oakland, y'all. So what we do is we meet individuals right where they are. You in the heart of crime, you in the heart of violence, you done got shot, yep, we're gonna come to the hospital and see how you're doing. And our purpose of coming here is not to just see your well-being. What else do you want to do with your life? What can we support you with? We got individuals that we hire who are former in the life. I personally went to jail multiple times, caused harm, oh my God. I am an advocate for services because it had not been for a mentor that was introduced to me in high school, I'll be dead, I'll be honest with you. And I grew up in the church, just left the church I grew up from. My grandfather was a pastor at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church on 14th and Filbert for 38 years. Grew up in the church, but coming to church ain't gonna save you just like, it ain't gonna change you just like going to a car dealership ain't gonna make you a Ferrari. So what we gotta do is figure out how we catch individuals right where they are with no judgment, but the reality. The reality is you just got shot 3 times in the last 1 year. And your family's house then got shot up twice. Thank God nobody got hit. That's the reality. The reality is you can't drive your kids to school because of the level of crime and violence that you involve yourself in. What do you want to do about this? To some, we need to get you out of Oakland. That's the only way that you're going to be able to survive. To some, it is change those patterns. Some of what we do to change the pattern is filling up your day with something else. If you stand on the corner all day or you ride around looking for people to rob all day long, then what we want to do is give you 8 hours where you can go to work. That's 8 hours out that day that you haven't done nothing wrong and hurt nobody. Then we want you to come see us 2 hours after you get off work. That's 10 hours of your day that's already gone. You should be hungry and tired and ready to go to bed after that. And if you're not, then we need to figure out how we gonna put some more space in between your time. We just fill up folks' spaces with opportunities, work, employment, housing, education. A lot of individuals that we encounter don't have high school diplomas. I'm talking about grown men. Been to the penitentiary 15, 12, 15 years, don't have a high school diploma, have no formal work experience. So we created funding opportunities to say, yep, you can come in here with no knowledge of work, no resume, and help you learn some job skills here. And then we're going to work you to a place where you can actually get some meaningful employment, and then we want to track you to a place where you can actually get a career. Because we know that you can't survive off a regular job. I have young men that we're working with right now that are living in their cars, but they work in 2 jobs because they can't afford to pay rent nowhere in Oakland. It's absolutely, if we're going to start talking about how we reduce violence, we got to include all these other conditions that we're trying to live in. We can't ignore that, y'all. We can't ignore what individuals are suffering from. And I'm not making an excuse for crime and violence to exist because people are hurting. I'm not making that excuse. What I'm saying is in order to get to the people who we need to get to, you can't get to them until you start addressing that pain. And maybe it's not you. Maybe you need to get them to us. We the professionals. We know how to do that. We know how to be patient and work with individuals and catch them with we know how to make life map plans and track some of the history of that trauma. We know how to set goals with these individuals that address the behavior modification that needs to happen so that they don't be repeat offenders, so that they can be a ceasefire success story instead of somebody who's saying, well, they done got caught up in the enforcement sweep. And what we make them understand is we support the change. I can't walk the steps for you. So change only happens from the individuals who are absolutely ready to address, and we don't have to be ready to address 100% of you yet. Yes. But if you're ready to address 15% of you, we'll work with that 15%. And we want to get you from 15 to 30, and from 30 to 65, and from 65 to 85, until you eventually looking completely at yourself and saying, I need some help. And we got a lot of success stories with individuals who've gotten help. I looked up, I got to give a shout out to Brother Willie up there who's running I met Willie at, Willie the Reverend, but I met Willie at Dewey Continuation School. And I was there for somebody else who was in trouble, but I knew it was something about this young man. I said, boy, you a preacher or something. He started laughing, he said, I am. So I started using Willie. I said, okay, Willie, we're going to have these groups. And you tell me when I'm lying, Willie. We start having these groups with young men who was focused on causing havoc at the school. We started doing groups to address some of their trauma, to address some of their behavior. And I said, Willie, I'm going to use you as a resource. I said, if you get 5 or 6 of these dudes up in here, every time we come, I'm going to make sure you get your food. I'll make sure you get a little gift card. We're going to take care of you. Willie was our ambassador. Willie is standing at the door. Come on, y'all coming on in? Willie was escorting folks into the building to make sure they got connected to it. And we recognize that that's an important thing. I see Pastor standing up. That means my time is up, right?
That's right. Let's put our hands together for Chief Kentrell Killings. Wow, wow, so much information. I just want to jump in here. You said you gave Willie some free sandwiches. I know he worked hard. You found the secret. You found my. He got an extra muffin. That's why he's up there working right now.
That's right, you know.
I want to share with you, I want to ask this question because I know the depths of your work and the commitment to our city and the profound impact that DVP is having in our city. I'd just like for you to share with us 2 quick points. I want to address your violent interrupters, what they actually do, just so the audience can know this is a resource that's available. And then secondly, just roughly how many young people you have touched in the last 2 years through the Department of Violence Prevention.
Yes, thank you. Great questions. So violence interruption is our intervention services, again, where we have specialized folks. We got a couple of them in the room right now. Raise your hand for me. We got specialized folks who are from our community, who have deep relationships within our community, but they also have a skill set that allows them to engage in the middle. This is where I say we live. We live as violence interrupters and intervention specialists. We live in between the gun. And let me tell you why I'm saying that. It's because the majority of individuals that we're in communication with are in conflict with somebody. We in relationship with all of them. I'm not going to let none of them make me be from this side or that. No, I'm in the middle. So we in communication with everybody. So the majority of the relationships that we hold are between individuals who at some point are pointing a gun at each other or trying to shoot and kill each other. What their job is to show up in those incidents where we know there's traditional conflicts. We engage with individuals, right? We recognize and acknowledge the harm and the trauma that they're living with, but we also provide resources to say, what else can we do besides shooting each other, right? What else can we do besides feeling like you need to ride around with a gun to protect yourself, or what messages can we then pass on your behalf to say, you done with this? Let me make sure that the other side know you done, so that now it's clear-cut lines being drawn around the messaging. Sometimes what carries the violence further is messaging. Social media is an enemy. It is the enemy. Because if we didn't have no social media in our day, so you had to catch me to find me, to fight me, and then when we fought, if I got beat up, you didn't put it all over the internet. I just had to tell him he beat me up. But it wasn't all over TV, and it wasn't getting 1 million views by 2 seconds later. They're in a generation where it's instant. And they don't realize how that it keeps promoting and perpetuates violence. So what we do is Sean Upshaw, he coordinates our 24-hour triangle incident response. That means every single day, somebody from our team and one of our community-based organizations is responding to shootings and homicides across the city of Oakland. Y'all sleep. When y'all wake up to the news at 8 o'clock and it was a homicide at 3 o'clock, we was there. When it was another one at 3:30, we there. When it's another one at 4 in the morning, we there. At 6 in the morning, we're there. Then we turn around and come back to the one at 12 in the afternoon. We're there. And what we're there for is to say, in the moment of crisis, here's some resources, family. And we want to help get the temperature so we can try to reduce retaliation. Retaliation has been the leading cause of violence and in the continuation of violence, because you shot me, now I got to come back and shoot you. You killed one of my guys, now I got to come back. So we're interrupting that. Kevin Grant says it best. We've gotten good at interrupting shooting B. Now we're trying to get to interrupting shooting A. But you can't prevent what you can't predict. Let me say that again. You cannot prevent what you can't predict. Now, if I know that me and Council Member Fife if we got a problem, then you know Reverend Demeter could come and say to Council Member Fife, I know you and Cottrell got a problem, so let's see if we can talk it out. We can figure out a way to get to resolving our problem. But if robberies is leading the violence, we can't predict the robbery. We don't know when the robbery is going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, right? But those are incidents where it start off as a robbery, even though they're giving up their stuff, they still shooting people. And behind somebody being shot, now somebody's saying, oh, you done shot my uncle and took his stuff. I got to do something about this. So we get to those who want to do something about it, and we prevent them from doing something else about it, right? The other question was, how many folks have we helped? Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. We've helped thousands of individuals. It's not promoted. We get we average at least 100 plus referrals from ceasefire throughout the year that they make direct communications with, some that come in through a call-in, some that come in through custom notifications. Sometimes the number are even higher than that. That's not our only referral source. The district attorney makes referrals. Public defenders make referrals. We get community members saying, hey, my daughter needs some help. My son needs some help. We come in contact with thousands of individuals within our network. We got thousands of success stories where individuals were once on their list and now they doing great. They done changed their life. They taking the work serious. They got jobs. They got careers. They're promoting healthy lifestyles. And now they're becoming leaders speaking against the violence in their own communities. I'm going to stop there.
Hands together for Kentrell Crillens. I want to just pause and acknowledge Councilwoman Carol Fife is here on time, unlike these other folks I know. So they have pushed you a little behind, but we're going to get there. Okay. Listen, we're honored today to have Reverend Demita Davis, Howard Davis. Davis Howard. I knew it both ways. Okay. And she's here as our ceasefire director and spokesperson for the day. I've been working with Reverend Demita now for like 14 years. We were here at the onset and the beginning, the commencement of bringing ceasefire. We all met in that room and made a determination. We thought that would be helpful and a great strategy for our city. And we have had some good results. We have had some challenges during COVID. But I want to, Reverend Demita, if you can just be so kind and explain to the entire audience today what ceasefire is, how it started, and what the results have been.
Thanks. That's a great question, Pastor Wallace. Good afternoon, I think it is now, to everybody today. Like you said, I'm the ceasefire director, but I began my career in violence prevention and intervention work as an organizer with the Oakland Community Organizations, which is now known as Faith in Action East Bay. A lot of people in this room I work with. I looked over, I didn't know who Carol Fife was. Council member Fife was for a minute, but she and I have been in this on the battlefield for a long time, before she was councilwoman and before I was the ceasefire director. And a lot of that was around trying to keep violence out of Oakland. So I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. Ceasefire is a strategy. It is also nationally known as a focused deterrent strategy. And that's because the same elements are used in a number of cities throughout the nation and throughout the world. There are cities in Mexico that use focused deterrence, but they may not call it ceasefire. That's the name Oakland gives it. It really is a focused deterrent strategy, which says it's intelligence-led, partner-based, and data-driven. So let me just explain that. There are 4 primary components of ceasefire. Ceasefire is a very, not small piece, but significant piece of violence prevention and intervention. Chief killings, they deal with all of the violence, all kinds, if it's sex workers, domestic violence. They have the big picture violence. Ceasefire has a very focused piece of that, and that is to keep and reduce shootings and homicides out of groups and gangs. Why did I say groups and gangs? Because the data tells us that even though they're not group or gang conflicts, but over 49% of people who are involved in gun violence belong to a group or a gang. Whether that's in a homicide or if it's in a robbery, domestic violence, they are the ones using guns. Our problem analysis, I saw the police, come on in so y'all don't scare us. About 86% of the violence in Oakland is gun violence. That's what our problem analysis, we get this done every 2 years, presented to the city. Then we can focus on what's driving our violence. And we then go out and try to talk to folks who may be a part of those groups. We call them those at very high risk for violence. To be honest, it's either shooters or folks who are going to be shot. So he's dealing with all the rest of the violence. We're focused on that, because if we drive that down, we can drive violence down in Oakland. And as a matter of fact, that's what we did. So this started in earnest in 2012. But it really isn't my story. It's the community story. I always start off my presentation that ceasefire is here in Oakland, not because of the police, not because of a politician, but because the community, specifically OCO, demanded that something be done about gun violence in the city of Oakland. And that started back in 2006, a number of leaders in OCO had lost children. One of them is here today. Barbara, I saw you earlier. I don't see you now. But she had lost her son. He had witnessed another shooting, had to get out of town because folks were looking for a retaliatory shooting. He came back on his birthday and was gunned down at the KFC up there at 27th and Telegraph. There had been another mother in East Oakland. There's a mother here right now. She's lost two sons to gun violence. And retaliation is a big piece of that gun violence. Is the other thing that data has told us. So then we take that data and then we do direct, respectful communication with those who are most likely to be involved, those at the very highest risk. So there's a lot of people at risk to be involved in violence. But there is a very focused, if you look at the data, it's really about between 200 and 300 people who are driving the gun violence. We could talk to 200 people. We could talk to 300 people. So we want to talk to them respectfully, directly, and ask them, do they want to change their lives, give them every opportunity to change their life, also explaining to them their risk. If you stay in this lifestyle, this is the driving force, the things that could happen, including what you guys saw on the news this week. That's not all ceasefire, I just want y'all to know. That's the last resort. If you continue to shoot, then you got to go to jail. I'm saying that as a mother of a 28-year-old boy, of a 23-year-old daughter, 24, she's 24. But somebody got to go to jail if you keep on shooting. But there are a number of those folks who don't, as Chief Killen said, want to be in that life. So then we refer them to services. And generally what they get, DVP has its own life coaches and other service providers, but they also contract out to over 20 agencies that help provide services. So they provide services specifically for these group of folks who come through ceasefire. And let me just say, in 2012, there was 127 homicides. In October of 2012, we started ceasefire in earnest. That means we was out there talking to people. We were out there, we had services for them. We had got it down. OCO was the driver of it. And in 2013, we had a 27% drop in homicides and shooting. And it continued to drop until when? COVID-19. But a number of other things happened, including what happened in Minnesota. So now what we're doing, we are engaged in an audit. Not because we think something is wrong with the strategy, but we want to see how those two things impacted the strategy. This is a look at our own self. If you don't continue to do self-analysis, you'll be walking down the wrong road, trying to get to the wrong place. So I just want to put it there out there. Everybody seems to be scared of an audit but me. I'm the one telling them to come in. We want to see what we need to adjust, right? So then after services, I think I mentioned this before, it's focused enforcement. That's a lot different than the broken glass kind of enforcement that our communities are used to. Everybody get picked up, everybody gets stopped. This is about focusing on those who are driving or drawing violence. Because you got to pay attention to both of those things in order to prevent violence. And as Chief Killen said, if you focus and you use the data, you will discover things like there's a new faction of folks who actually are gang members in San Francisco, but the violence is being perpetrated here in Oakland. You will know that they were displaced from somewhere else. A whole family is in West Oakland. And then that data tells you who you need to focus on, including, like he said, a number of those folks got arrested. This is just a little secret. You know, some of them got arrested before. They said, we've been over here because didn't nobody know we existed. That's what ceasefire is to focus, to know about their existence, to do operations when necessary. And I'll say this, none of those, ceasefire will not work as a strategy unless you have all four of those components. You cannot talk to the wrong people at the wrong time. So you got to have the data to tell you who to talk to and when to talk to them. You've got to have something for them, the services that DVP provides. I drive them mostly to life coaching, because then that life coach helps them determine exactly what they need. We don't say, hey, we're going to set you up with a job. We say, we're going to set you up with services. So you then can do a life plan. If you're at the very highest risk, there are a whole lot of work needs to be done with some of them folks before you can be trying to get them jobs, trying to get them in school. You got to build them up so they can change. And lastly, and I have to underscore this, if all that happens and they continue to shoot, then it's focused enforcement.
Put our hands together for Reverend Demita of Ceasefire. Now, Reverend Demita, I'd just like to quickly, I know time is of the essence. There's two components of ceasefire that I'd like for you just to briefly, telling a preacher briefly, like telling a weatherman, don't look at the weather. Okay, but listen, briefly, please explain to the audience about the call-ins, because I've been a part of the call-ins for the last several years, and I go there and spend time at the call-ins, but then secondly, the night walks.
Okay.
Let's talk about those two very briefly.
So the night walks really is a faith in action thing. I mean, I have no control, no input, but I will tell you how they got started. Because
Let's talk about what they are.
So the night walks, every Friday night, from various congregations, a group of citizens in Oakland walk the streets of Oakland and wanting to talk to, it's called a ministry of silence actually, to let people know that we want the violence to stop, and we care about them, and we love them, we want them to get into services. This began September 14, 2012. I only tell you that because I was there. I was with OCO. I was not doing this work. I was doing another work. And this not organizer organized me against my strong will to go to this church and walk the neighborhood against violence. And when I did it, I do have to say, it was the first time as a citizen of Oakland, as a resident of Oakland, that I felt like I could do something or anything, thank you, about violence in my city. My church door had 3 bullet holes in it. We had 86 and Olive in the heart of East Oakland. So, you know, violence was all around. So every Friday night, at the guidance of organizers and leaders out of Faith in Action East Bay, at different congregations, they walk the communities, letting them know that we want the gun violence to stop. It is a way for the community to express its support and the need for violence to stop. Call-ins. So call-ins is the second piece. I talked about direct, respectful communications. We do it 2 ways. One is through kind of a one-on-one where a small group of folks, including clergy, somebody from the community, and somebody from services, and somebody from law enforcement. We don't want to send them folks out there unprotected. That's me. And go out and talk to people and their families about the risks involved in what they're doing and how they might change that and where we could send them, which is a referral to DBP to help them change those risks. The other is the call-ins, which is a group of anywhere between 14 to 20 young men. They are all on probation, so they are told to come in by their probation officer. I always want to put that out there. The other is totally volunteer. This one is, nope, you come in because we have identified you and we want to tell them about the risk. Again, not only their personal risk, but their group's risk. Because we want them to take the message back and tell the group to stop with the violence. And the last message at that call-in, we have clergy there, we have victims of violence who could tell their story, have a face to what you are doing. When you're shooting people, it affects mothers, it affects sisters, you know, et cetera, et cetera. We have clergy, community services. And lastly, we have enforcement. We have the state attorneys, district attorney, and then OPD. And then tell them, if you don't stop, we're going to focus on you. And somebody in OPD coined this phrase, after this meeting, whoever is the first to commit violence and the worst to commit violence, then we're going to focus on you. So like Ghost Town is not the only group out there or even leading, but they might have been the first ones after a call-in, right? Or they might have had the worst shooting after the call-in, and they got some focus, and you see what happened, and they didn't stop. That's happened a number of times over the years, and I do believe it is part of the deterrence because people are still talking about it.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together for Reverend Demita, Ceasefire. Thank you so much. Okay, we're almost ready for lunch, and you know how it is when people are ready to eat. I mean, I know that every Sunday because they start looking at their watches when I'm up preaching. when it gets close time to eat. So unfortunately, Omar, you're in a preacher spot today. So you're gonna, I'm gonna speak with Omar Farmer from the SSOC, which is the Public Safety Services and Oversight Commission. He's a commissioner here in the city of Oakland. I'll give you my mic if that's okay. And I am honored to serve as a commissioner on the SSOC as well. And so Brother Omar is going to come forth and share with us the role that the SSOC plays in the city of Oakland. I think it's critical that we understand this because we are an oversight committee of Measure Z dollars that address public safety. Measure Z is sunsetting, and so there's groups that are working on a new Measure Z. This is part of your tax dollars are used to fund DVP and ceasefire and all these services. And so you need to hear a little bit more to be clear about this, because as we go forward, we need to understand what's working in our city, what's in place in our city, and what needs to be ramped up in our city to bring about change for public safety. Brother Omar, would you just go ahead and have your way?
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Wallace. And can you hear me? All right. And I'll try to be as brief as possible. But the SSOC, as Pastor Wallace explained, is an oversight body that oversees how the funds are spent that are collected through Measure Z. Measure Z is a parcel and property tax that brings in somewhere between $25, $29 million per year. And then those funds are distributed to DVP, the Department of Violence Prevention, the Oakland Police Department, and the Oakland Fire Department. And what you just heard explained are strategies that they implement to help accomplish three primary objectives, one of which is to improve police and fire and 911 response times. Two is to reduce homicides, robberies, burglaries, and gun-related violence. Three is to oversee the strategies that DVP does, for example, to interrupt the cycle of violence and to do violence intervention and prevention measures. So it's not necessarily like, a sexy explanation, but it's necessary to have an oversight body to oversee how these funds are spent and to measure their effectiveness. In addition to that, 3% of the funds that are collected are used on professional consultants to do evaluations to also evaluate the effectiveness of those strategies. And Pastor Wallace and myself and the other people that are on the SSOC, we oversee these strategies, their effectiveness, and we also make recommendations at the appropriate time. So the strategies that OPD employs, for example, it's not just ceasefire. They also employ community resource officers, crime reduction teams that work out of the Violent Crime Operations Center that kind of moves around the city to different hotspots. And they also have special victim service personnel who respond and try to combat things such as domestic violence and commercial sexual exploitation. And then DVP themselves, they have around 27 or 28 strategies overall that they employ, like you heard them explain, things such as life coaching and violence interrupters, and things on how to combat gender-based violence. So that's what we do. We oversee these funds, and we also make recommendations, and that's pretty much the explanation of SSOC.
Let's put our hands together for Omar Farmer. Thank you for being brief and succinct. But I want to ask one real quick question from the panel here that's gathered today. As we are aware, Measure Z funds that support this great work that you're doing sunset, as I said, next year. Why is it important for voters to support Measure Z going forward? And any of you can answer that question.
Well, I'll start only because I was I was looking around, I saw Shalonda here earlier, a couple other people who got involved in OCO to get Measure Z passed. Before that it was Measure Y, but it didn't have all of the components that we now have in a violence reduction and intervention strategy. And it's something that's needed. Your city needs a Department of Violence Prevention and Intervention. We ought to add that I in there officially, because that's what it really is. It's more intervention than prevention. Because if any of us could prevent crime, all of us would, wouldn't we? But they do a very good, the prevention part comes in stopping retaliatory shooting. That's the same thing for ceasefire and talking to these guys, because that's where the numbers really go up. It's necessary. The strategy is necessary. When implemented correctly, it has reduced homicides and shootings by up to 32%. That's a lot. For 40 years, the average number of homicides per year, from 2012 backwards, if you went backwards 40 years, this scared me a little bit, was 108 homicides per year. In my city, of 400 people, that's a lot of homicides. And we're not even talking about the number of shootings that didn't lead to homicide. And once the strategy, and first it was Oakland Unite, but there still was some focus on trying to prevent and intervene in violence happening in Oakland, those numbers started to go down. And at one point, nobody was talking about violence in the street because the numbers had dropped that great. We need to keep it up.
Can I just share, because it's not just about the Department of Violence Prevention. Measure Z is a public safety measure.
Yes.
It includes the fire department. It includes the Oakland Police Department. As was mentioned by Commissioner Farmer, there's multiple aspects of the police department that actually accesses funds from the Measure Z initiative. There's multiple forms of fire response that absolutely is supported by, or the 911 system for the fire department in particular is absolutely. There's language being interjected into the revised version of Measure Z to include the macro support, right? So there's multiple levels of not only support services, but absolute services that you all need as residents, as community members, to address multiple layers of public safety.
Thank you so much. I want to close with this here very briefly. First and foremost, I want to say to you, we thank you all for your outstanding service and commitment to public safety in our city and in our communities. Last, I just want to share this with you because I'm a commissioner with the SSOC. I serve as co-chair of the Board of Faith and Action East Bay. I was with Pastor McBride and others as we brought ceasefire to our city. One of the things I just want to share with this group today is if we didn't have Department of Violence Prevention, ceasefire, and this SSOC oversight, our city would be, you think it's bad now? You think it's rough out here now? If we didn't have these services, it'd be really the Wild Wild West, unchecked. So let's put our hands together for them today because of the tremendous service and contributions they're making. And I know
Pastor Wallace, I just got to say this because she's in the building, and I always do this. Not only do you have services that are represented here, but you got leadership as a part of the city of Oakland. Your representative for West Oakland is one of the most hardest champions. I love this lady because she goes hard. She is an excellent leader. She is an advocate, and she understands the community. So when she represents on the leadership capacity for the city of Oakland, she's thinking about you all. She's thinking about those longtime members of this community who she represents. And so you can't do it without leadership within city government as well. So I cannot, and, Mia Banta.
Yes.
On the state level. So we got folks in the building who really care about this community, and they show it in the way that they show up in their leadership. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Okay, let's put our hands together for our panelists. They have just gotten me fired. I cannot MC no more. I'll turn it back over to the hands of Taylor Wallace, and she's going to provide us with some directions for lunch. Again, we want to thank Omar Farmer for coming today. And he's going to come back because I want him to talk about the new 911 system that we are looking at, because I hear numerous complaints about calling 911, the response time, or no response at all. And we have had that experience right here in our church. As I shared with Omar recently, in 2014, I had a major heart attack right in the pulpit. And my sister Yarborough was here, and she was calling 911, and several people was calling. We couldn't even get a response. By the time they got here, between this pulpit and Summit Hospital, I had 3 heart attacks. And the doctor told me right then, he says, listen, you better be glad that 1 drop of blood was still in your chamber, which prevented you from having death or a catastrophic injury. And so I just want to talk about, we want to talk about the 911 response. Brother Omar Farmer has been doing a lot of research in this area, and I really want him to have time to share later. In your hands, Sister Taylor.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
All
for
right,
the time.
everybody. How y'all doing? Yeah, good. I just want to say thank you all so much. You guys have been championing through the day with us. I really want to take the time to appreciate that for each and every one of you all. At this time, we're going to go ahead and break for lunch. What we'll do is we'll take these first 5 minutes. If you all want to go ahead, wash your hands, get ready to go downstairs. Once you head downstairs, there will be discussion questions that are on your tables. We'll take 25 minutes for lunch. You can talk either about something else or about the questions that are on the table, which we prefer. Just with people that you may not know, feel free to sit with someone new. I know we did a little bit of that sharing earlier today, but we're going to go ahead and do that. We will come back right after at about 1:15, and we'll jump right into our Councilwoman Carol Fife and give her the opportunity to have the floor and talk to us all, okay? So go ahead, take some time. Please wash your hands. It is COVID. The restrooms are located either here up the stairs or downstairs for the men, and then find a table and find some people to sit around, introduce yourself, and